Hi, I'm John Green. This is Crash Course World History, and today we're going to discuss, wait for it, the Mongols. So you probably have a picture of the Mongols in your head. Yes, that's the picture. Brutal, bloodthirsty, swarthy, humorously mustachioed warriors riding the plains, wearing fur, eating meat directly off the bone, saying bar, 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 bar. In short, we imagine the Mongol Empire as stereotypically barbarian. And that's not entirely wrong. But if you've been reading recent world history textbooks like we here at Crash Course have, you might have a different view of the Mongols, one that emphasizes the amazing speed and success of their conquests, how they conquered more land in 25 years than the Romans did in 400, how they controlled more than 11 million contiguous square miles. And you may even have read that the Mongols basically created nations like Russia and even Korea. One historian has even claimed that the Mongols smashed the feudal system and created international law. Renowned for their religious tolerance, the Mongols, in this view, created the first great free trade zone, like a crazy medieval Eurasian NAFTA. And that's not entirely wrong either. Stupid truth always.
All right, now that you got the intro to the Mongols, we are going to talk about the Toluyid line. So we're going to talk about this line right here and beyond and what it did to set up a power. So Monkey, right here, right, soon after he came to the throne, made a new disposition, one that forever changed the political alignment among the princely lines. At about the same time, he granted new allotted territories to family members and officials in China and Iran. He asserted and established direct Toluyid princely control over both countries. This assertion of immediate control over the richest and most populous parts of the empire made the Toluyids the most powerful and princely lines, not only in name, but in fact. So you have here this line, right, with Monkey creates this line, which in essence creates an exchange of the two most powerful sedentary states within the Mongol Empire right here. The Ilkhanate and the Yuan are going to have cultural exchanges, which we will discuss further.
To the question of Mongol awesomeness. First, 5 arguments for awesome. 1. The Mongols really did reinvigorate cross-Eurasian trade. The Silk Road trading routes that had existed for about 1,000 years by the time the Mongols made the scene had fallen into disuse, but the Mongols valued trade because they could tax it, and they did a great job of keeping their empire safe. It was said that a man could walk from one end of the Mongol Empire to the other with a gold plate on his head without ever fearing being robbed. 2. The Mongols increased communication through Eurasia by developing this Pony Express-like system of way stations with horses and riders that could quickly relay information. It was called the Yam system, and it also included these amazing bronze passports which facilitated travel. 3. Another thing that traveled along Mongol trade routes was cuisine. For example, it was because of the Mongols that rice became a staple of the Persian diet, which I mention entirely because I happen to like Persian food. 4. The Mongols forcibly relocated people who were useful to them, like artists and musicians, and especially administrators. As you can imagine, the Mongols weren't much for administrative tasks like keeping records, so they found people who were good at that stuff and just moved them around the empire. This created the kind of cross-cultural pollination that world historians these days get really excited about. And 5, the Mongols were almost unprecedentedly tolerant of different religions. They themselves were shamanists, believing in nature spirits, but since their religion was tied to the land from which they came, they didn't expect new people to adopt it, and they didn't ask them to. So you could find Muslims and Buddhists and Christians and people of any other religion you can think of prospering throughout the Mongol Empire. And it's that kind of openness that has led historians to go back and reevaluate the Mongols, seeing them as kind of a precursor to modernity.
All right, so let's talk about these cross-cultural exchanges. One cross-cultural exchange is this picture right here called millet. This was a product or crop used for creating, bread-like substances, whatever you may be. And this came from North China, right, into the Ilkhanate court. Also, another crop going the opposite flow, wonderful, lemons. Lemons came from, right, in Persia or the Ilkhan court and were moved over into China during the time of the Yuan. So these are two physical examples of cross-cultural references between the Ilkhan court and the Yuan dynasty within East Asia. Okay, let's wrap this all up on the Mongols. We've gone in and out. We've gone from a little Green, right, looking at Crash Course. Let's extend off that. One example was from a historian called Bert Fragner. In his work, From the Caucasus to the Roof of the World. In here he talks about the Ilkhan court's acceptance of rice, where it was brought up in the video by Crash Course, but he says, Brett, the historian, Mr. Fragner, that it was an elitist thing, and it was only for the upper echelon, which became more and more embedded into Persian culture, and which moves in after the Ilkhan court into the Safavid. Well, let's wrap this all up for us, and let's get out of here, and let us look at the final sections of this. In sum, you have pastoral nomads, who are the chief initiators and promoters and agents of this exchange, right, across Eurasia. As articulated in the form of imperial policy of exchanges between the Ilkhan court and also the Iwan, and furthermore. But what's interesting is this was a Pax Mongolica. Yes, they may have not been so nice, but on the other instance, they brought about this connection during the